Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of the Knight's Holocron. Today we will be discussing Supreme Leader Snoke, who is probably one of the most speculated Star Wars characters in recent times, along with Rey. Here's what we know about the Supreme Leader. He's ancient, about 8 feet tall, extremely powerful on the dark side, saw the rise and fall of the Empire. Question is, though, where was he during the rise and fall of the Empire? That's been debated, and no one seems to be able to come up with a solid answer. But for me personally, it's driving me nuts. Species I would assume he is a part of because of the height is the Munes. Most fans, including myself, connected him to Darth Plagueis, but I heard that theory had been debunked. Let's say that Snoke being Plagueis hadn't been debunked. It's quite clear in The Force Awakens the Supreme Leader took a serious blow to the face. What if that came from Darth Sidious's incredibly powerful Force lightning, causing Plagueis to become deformed and frail? But Darth Plagueis was also a master of Force illusion, and it would have been enough to trick Palpatine. They say that he was so powerful with it. Since the Plagueis theory, though, has been debunked, I am all for Snoke being a new character. Shout out to Urban Acolyte for bringing up the idea of Snoke being like Darth Nihilus. If Snoke has some of the Force powers that Nihilus has, then our heroes will have massive problems on their hands, especially if the Supreme Leader has a Force power called Force Drain. For those who are unfamiliar with this power, the user literally steals the target's life force, sometimes to death. It's a very powerful dark side technique, and it kind of goes along with the phrase that Palpatine tells Anakin that the dark side is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. I'm actually kind of hoping this is the case, while Luke and Rey are studying the ancient Jedi and hoping to find a way to bring Snoke and the First Order down. So, let's say we go all the way back to when the Jedi were first established. And there were probably Force powers throughout the thousands of years from the time of the Old Republic, time to the New Republic, that had been lost. I do know for a fact that the Empire did try to eliminate as much as they could about the Jedi. Palpatine wanted the Jedi completely eradicated from the galaxy, to where people no longer believe that they existed. And Rey kind of touches on that in The Force Awakens when they have that conversation with Han Solo on the Millennium Falcon. So, I guess if Snoke really does have some ancient dark side abilities, then the only way I can possibly see them defeating him 100% and him not come back is if they go and start looking at the ancient Jedi text. Because, yes, Yoda talks about how the Force should only be used for knowledge and defense. So, what kind of defensive ability did the Jedi come up with to fight Force Drain? There was a power that Cade Skywalker had in the Legacy comic series where he could bring people back from the brink of death or bring people back from the dead. Now, they say that brought him closer to the dark side because death is always the will of the Force, but he was healing people, so I never quite understood why they considered it a dark side ability, but we all know that the Skywalker line has a long history with Darksiders and Lightsiders. So it'll be really, really interesting to see how powerful Luke is, because it's been 30 years since Return of the Jedi, and now maybe 31, 32, depending on what they do at the timeline. But a Jedi's greatest weapon was always knowledge. So Luke has had 30 years of knowledge, and he's also been seeking out the Force trees. Now, I'm interested to see what these Force trees do to their full extent. And maybe that's how they figure out how to beat the Supreme Leader, is by using these Force trees, which, you know, there are dark side and light side nexuses throughout the entire galaxy. So maybe Snoke came from a dark side nexus to where the Jedi couldn't sense him, and maybe to where even Palpatine couldn't sense him. although it's stated in Aftermath that he believed the source of the dark side lied within the Outer Rim. And I may have just screwed that up, but it was somewhere on the outside regions of space. And that's why they say that the First Order or / Empire took off out there was to go looking for that. And if I remember right, the person who had presented, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but the person who presented this theory during Aftermath said all this was one of, I guess, Palpatine's closest confidants. Now, do I think Palpatine could possibly come back? No, I don't. But I do think to bridge the gap and maybe kind of help push Kylo Ren back into Ben Solo, we're gonna have to see a Force Ghost of Anakin Skywalker. I think it'll be really cool to see Luke interact with his father now that Anakin is no longer on the dark side. But they also say that he wasn't completely with the light side, that Darth Vader still exists. So maybe Snoke is conjuring the spirit of Darth Vader to convince Kylo to stay on the dark side. He wants him in the middle, but I think now that he's going to complete his training, Kylo Ren is going to be a full-on dark side user. And plus, I really want to know what the deal was between him and Han Solo. Obviously, he's got daddy issues, which that's a running theme in Star Wars, which there's nothing wrong with that. So I think it's a good way to keep the original algorithm that George Lucas came up with going. So I hope they touch on how the relationship with Han Solo and Ben Solo may have driven Ben to the dark side. And Leia, I guess, has got this big old guilt about Kylo and having him turn. Unfortunately, I don't know if we're going to see that come full circle because of the unfortunate passing of Carrie Fisher. So, Episode 8 hits theaters in December, and I guess we'll just have to keep speculating and maybe just get something right. Until then, thank you, and I will see you guys soon. Bye. May the Force be with you.